It was a place of peace. It was a place of joy. It was a land of beauty, at least to its inhabitants. Children played freely, running from one compound to another. It was a place where the law that controlled the poor also controlled the rich. It was this place, Agomo village, that King Jombo lived and reigned. When he got married, he did not reckon with the opposition nature would present to him. He had thought that within 1 year of his marriage, he would have a child, preferably a son. But a year passed, followed by another and another, while he still remained childless. He became restless. He knew that his wife, like most African women, loved to have her own children. He had seen her many times playing with children from the neighborhood who had accompanied their parents to his palace. He had noticed that whenever they went back home, his wife would become moody, go to a quiet corner, sit down and begin to weep silently because of her unfortunate condition. She would fantasize about a time she and her children would be playing together. One day, King Jumbo's wife, Queen Auda, came to him and said, out of frustration, "I need a child from you. I want you to give me my own baby." King Jumbo got angry. What his wife had said sounded to him more like an accusation that he was impotent. So he had to do something. And what was that? He decided to consult an oracle called Idu in his village, Agomo. But he was unprepared for the answer he got. Idu plainly told him that it was not yet his time to have a child, that he should still wait until the time nature had decided for him to have one. King Jumbo went home angry and sad for days. His wife asked him many questions just to find out why he was so sad, but he evaded them all with responses that had nothing to do with his cause of worry. After 5 years of marriage without a child, he consulted Idu again, but was told to be patient. In fact, Idu told him that if he should have a child at that time, he, King Jumbo, would initiate what would lead to the death of the child. King Jumbo went back home in bitterness. In his 8th year, he went again to Idu after he had gone to other oracles outside his village and had received a similar answer. Idu told him again that it was not yet his time to have a child, that he should wait a little longer. "I am tired of waiting," King Jumbo said. "This is 8th year of my marriage. I need a child fast. My wife is not happy. She is complaining. What wrong have I done to the gods, to my ancestors?" Idu reminded him of what he had told him before concerning the child, but King Jumbo argued that there was no way he would initiate what would lead to the death of his own child. It was unthinkable that such a thing could happen. Idu then prescribed a solution to him, which he applied. In less than a year after King Jumbo's last visit to Idu, his wife, Queen Auda, became pregnant, to the joy of everybody, and later gave birth to a boy named Jeku. The womb, however, closed again. Jeku grew rapidly and became the only child of his parents. His mother was so fond of him that they sometimes played like mates. He liked being around her, enjoyed asking some questions, such as where the rainwater was hung in the sky, whether the sun would one day fall, where the moon traveled to in the day. King Jumbo adored his wife. He would occasionally stroll with her around the neighborhood, holding her by the hand. Sometimes when she was cooking, he would sneak into the kitchen bare-chested, uninvited, just to see how she was preparing the food. Queen Auda would then smile and tell him to stop being naughty. Each time he was in the company of his friends in their neighboring community, Ochio, he boasted that no woman was as beautiful as his wife. Besides, he used to say his wife was humble, respectful, and hospitable. One day, after a meeting with his friends at Ochio, King Jombo came up again with his usual boast. This time, he told his friends that no woman could beat his wife in the art of cooking. When Mr. Yoba, one of his friends, disagreed with him on this, King Jombo invited them to an evening meal in his palace so that they could confirm his claim. The day came. King Jombo had told his wife everything, his conversation with his friends, and their reason for coming all the way from Ochio to Agamo. He had then given her enough money to prepare a delicious meal for his friends. Queen Auda felt happy that her husband had always been proud of her. That evening, she set out to cook a delicacy from sliced cassava, her mission being to make the taste linger for days or even for weeks on the tongues of their guests. Jeku, now 5, was in the kitchen helping his mother with the cooking. Queen Auda did not want to engage any of her maids in the task. Their involvement, she thought, would mean that she was not the one who prepared the food. She wanted to do everything by herself, and when the glory came, she alone would receive it. In short, she asked them to remain in their room as she cooked. She was going to serve the guests herself. The guests were a bit late in coming. Nevertheless, they arrived and sat in the king's palace. King Jombo hurriedly sent for his wife through his male attendant to come and greet the guests. Queen Auda left the kitchen and went to her room to dress. Shortly, she came out, cute, and met the guests in the hall, and after greeting them, returned to her room to change back into her casual wear for the kitchen. She was very glad when she overheard them making some complimentary remarks about her extraordinary beauty. She heard her husband laugh and remind them of what he had told them about her beauty. Later, King Jombo, through his manservant, sent for Queen Auda to bring the food she had prepared. But at that time, she was not in the kitchen. The servant found her in her maid's room as she was giving them 1 or 2 instructions. Then he delivered the message and went back to his master. When Queen Auda returned to the kitchen, she could not believe what she had seen. One pot of food, already prepared, lay appended on the floor. All the contents spilled everywhere. She looked at the chunks of meat, fish, and other things that went into the preparation. What should she do now? Cry or run out of the compound? She turned sharply and looked sternly at her son standing by. "Jeku," she shouted, "what happened?" Her eyes were now exuding terror. "I am hungry," the boy said. "I tried to bring down the pot from the stove. I wanted to eat and—" Queen Auda could not allow him to finish. She was already choked with anger and frustration. How could this boy do this thing on this very important day in her life, she thought. She advanced to him, and as the boy tried to run out of the kitchen, she gave his head a powerful punch that sent him shrieking and crashing on the floor before he started wriggling like an injured earthworm. And soon, the blue shorts he was wearing became wet from his hot urine, and then he stayed quiet. Queen Auda, sensing danger, ran to the king and called him. When he came and saw the state of the kitchen and the boy on the floor, he got confused. The next thing he could do was rush the boy and try to carry him, but to his shock, Jeku had become lifeless. "What happened?" he asked, hysterically. Queen Auda could not give an answer. What she did was to flop on the floor and start crying. This attracted the maids and the guests, who rushed there asking questions without receiving any answer. Eventually, the truth came out through her own mouth after a long pressure from her husband. Everybody looked at each other in disbelief. Later, the news spread to the village, causing confusion. Some believed it, some did not. It was at dusk that day when a small group of men went to the king to confirm what they had heard. Queen Auda became sorrowful, full of tears. She knew she had run into deep trouble. She would lose her position and face other sanctions for killing her own son. The following day, the elders of the land gathered at the village square to deliberate on the appropriate action. 2 or 3 men spoke. Eventually, one man called Dioha stood up and said, "In the tradition of our land, no one is permitted to kill another person. Whoever does this must never be part of us again. But the case before us is a strange one. I have never heard that a king's wife killed her own child. Nevertheless, our tradition, which shows no discrimination, must apply. 2 things are obvious. First, Queen Auda must vacate her position. Secondly, she must be banished from the village to cleanse the land of her evil. Did I speak your mind?" Everybody echoed in agreement, and the meeting soon came to an end. The following evening, the whole community headed to the king's palace, chanting sorrowful songs, war songs, holding sticks and branches of leaves. When they got there, they took hold of Queen Auda, dragged her out of the palace, and marched her out of the village with mournful songs as the red sun sank behind the western horizon. King Jombo became a man full of sorrow. Please like, share, comment, subscribe to our channel for more updates and help us grow. Thank you.